Hey, everybody. It's your girl, Miss Motivational Mogul Mindset, Avis Cherie. Let's moving on over to a Dear Avis Cherie question. I'm going to only answer this one Dear Avis Cherie question because we know there's been mental health awareness months and days. I think of it, it's an everyday thing, ongoing thing. And in particular, suicide awareness. And I had a question. Why is it wrong to express that you've had suicide ideation thoughts? Express to your loved ones and they tell you you're wrong for feeling that way or you shouldn't feel that way. And how do you express that inside you feel like giving up? Thank God I could personally comment and give feedback to things that I can understand and relate to, as far as running this wheel, this race in life, and waiting to get to the next crisis. And there's a roadblock and there's always a obstacle that's telling you what you can't do. Running this race called life, and some darkness and gloom is always around. It's always making you feel hopeless and defeated. I think a lot of times people just don't know how to express that feeling. A lot of times people don't know how to express the mental anguish and the suffering and the torment of our thoughts and our silence in those weak moments. And what we do is situate ourselves around people we feel like we can trust and vent to. And then they have some opposed view of value, belief of what you said. It doesn't make that less your truth. And a lot of times we just need to take ourselves out of it when we're listening, and we need to revisit what listening actually means. Active listening means you're listening intensely and watching the nonverbal. You're watching the body language. You're listening to go inside what they're saying and feel what it feels for them. Active listening is not waiting on the very open gap of air and space so you can just comment and say, I don't think you should do that. Like, no, you're listening to react. You're not actively listening, because if you are, you'll be able to notice all those nonverbal cues, all the twitching, all the anguish, all the suffocation of the voice, all the anxiety, all the panic, how they race in their speech. You'll be able to notice how the blinking of the eyes. There's so many other things other than what's coming out of their mouth. And what that is telling you is that this situation is affecting them on more than a level of their articulation, more than what they're telling you. This thing is affecting them in greater and more magnitude than you can fathom. And the best thing also to do is learn your area of expertise, whether it's educated or whether it's the book of life. Learn that you have limitations and not have to comment on every situation, not have to have an opinion about every situation. Know that you can step back and still be great in someone's life with limited feedback. Know that there's power in silence. That is all that is needed sometimes. Sometimes people just want to know that they have a comforting space that's not rushed, that's not hurried along, and you can say what it is, and there's not going to be any judgment when they turn their back. They're not worried about that person sticking their nose and be like, you hear this fool? Listen, that's so important, because these are that person's truths. The biggest thing is making them know, teaching them how valuable they are in spite of the things they're going through, teaching people how they have to look at the tests that they keep failing to understand, the tools that they need to go out and seek, the things that they have to implement in their lives so they can take the hopelessness into hope. They can change the defeat into triumph and victory. They don't need a whole bunch of what is. Well, I'm going to tell you what happened for me and how it worked for me and how whoop, whoop, whoop. They don't need all that. What they're telling you is they have a level of incapacity and is of a dire need and urgency that they get the tools and become equipped to bit at that one bit at a time. So with this suicide ideation and sharing it, this particular person started sharing it with their parents. Their parents have very stern views and values. I'm not going to say why. They went from there and shared it with a sibling. They went from there and shared it with a friend. And my first reaction was, in that pool of people who was equipped, in that pool of people who was equipped to comfort, equipped to believe, equipped to pray, who also was equipped to know if you was of harm to self or others. And I'm not diminishing what people don't know, but we have to take accountability when there are things that we don't know that could put somebody in harm's way. In my case, I'm a clinician, so I know certain things and legally bound by certain things to ask. My ears peak up differently, not because I only went to school, but I have a vested interest in healing. So when people say certain things to me, I could be on my road to go pick up a Powerball check. But if I hear certain cue words and keywords, my whole day will stop to focus in on what God is telling me to do on that task and assignment. So people, be more astute to learning, because you're here and you're a student for life and you still have breath in your body, and God is not finished with you yet either. Be okay with that. That's why I'm loving and laughing and singing and dancing and rapping and DJing and doing all these great, amazing things, because I don't want to spend one more second in defeat. I don't want to spend no more second in pain and anguish in my body. I don't want to spend one more second doubting, worrying, being paranoid over my children, over things that could happen or not. I don't want to spend one more moment in that. I overturn that and get victory by overturning those things with joy, light, sun, pure, truth, honesty, love, kind words, patience, things that make us feel good when you hear the word. And sometimes if you can't help a person in those situations, make sure that they're not in harm's way. Get that out the way first, because you might need to take them to someone that can assess their situation medically and do what is necessary involuntarily or voluntarily, put them in a safe environment for themselves. Because sometimes it clicks so quickly that they can be telling you the story and then go home that night, and the darkness can come so fast that they didn't even realize that they needed an assessment in a more safer environment for themselves. But after that, if nothing else, don't judge. Just make sure you shed light on them every day. Don't look at it as another task and one more person you got to text. Look at it as you're giving away joy, love, God's peace, God's this. That's why I really do mean that when I put God's love behind everything I do. I'm stamping it and letting you know, Avis ain't nothing without it. This is what I stand for. I'm loving you with God's love. That means I ain't judging you. That means I don't care what you look like. That means I don't care what you have or don't have. I have to remind everybody after everything I say, all my materials, all my signage, God's love, God's peace to you, God's best to y'all, God's joy to y'all, God's health, God's speed. That's why I say that, because it is God and God only that it can do all things. Okay. So this is your girl, Miss Motivational Mogul Mindset, Avis Cherie, preaching again, child. Woo, child. That's a heavy mantle. I'm just trying to slow walk that thing. But anyway, until next time, this is the Unpopular Opinion Show. God's love, God's peace, God's health, God's wealth, and so much more to you. Take care.